us anymore. So for once, can you just put aside your morals?
Watch too many movies, boy.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2022 thriller Camping Trip, a film that is written by Leonardo Fucia and co-directed by Leonardo Fucia and Damien Lefucia. And Leonardo Fucia also stars in the film, along with Caitlin Cameron, Alex Gravenstein and Hannah Forrest Briand. Now, the film focuses on a group of young adults who get together during the COVID pandemic, and it feels like it's kind of coming to like the end of a lockdown, but the pandemic is very much still a part of people's lives. I suppose it still is to a large degree. So this group of people get together, these two couples really, to go off on a camping trip to kind of reconnect with each other because they've kind of missed being around each other as you do. While on this camping trip, out in the middle of nowhere, they're having lots of fun, and then they find in their tent a big bag full of money, a dead body in the woods, and this then triggers some uninvited guests and a whole series of tensions and problems between this group of close friends. Right, what are my thoughts on Camping Trip? Well, this is a low-budget indie film. That much is very, very clear when you watch it. There's actually quite nice direction going on here, some quite nice camera shots, some nice cinematography, some real thought gone into how the film is being presented. There's some good, decent performances by the majority of the cast, certainly the four main cast members here, the four friends, the group of friends, are all... while I'll be honest, I didn't necessarily like them all. I didn't necessarily think they were likable characters, but they performed to a decent standard, I would say. Sometimes, as I speak a lot about in these reviews, you will go in and watch like a low-budget film, and you're immediately taken out the experience of the film because the performances can be poor. That's not necessarily the case here, and like I say, there's some decent talent going on in regards to how the film has been made and shot. So there's all that is absolutely fine. The production values for a budget as low as this is actually pretty good, and it does allow you to enjoy the film to some degree. I think the problem I had with this film for the most part is it's something that we've seen before quite a few times. In a lot of ways, it reminded me very much of the Danny Boyle film Shallow Grave, and I think it was either Danny Boyle's first film or one of his first films anyway, and it had Ewan McGregor in it and people like that. Was it Christopher Eccleston? About this group of friends who are similar situation really. They find a load of money and they've got it kind of turns them against each other, and there's elements here in this film that play with that idea too. There's other elements complicated and thrown into the mix. Like I said, there's these criminals that are looking for this bag of money, and all this kind of stuff that, and to some degree, the idea here I think is sound. You know what I mean? Like this group of friends almost turning on each other and they become almost savages, but the logic of it just didn't necessarily work for me. Now, initially, when they first find this body in the woods, they're all thinking the right things. You know, we need to call the police. We need to do this. We need to do that. And then when they've kind of made that decision and they go back to the tent and they find all this money, they're all kind of like, no, we're going to keep this money. There's a couple of voices of reason in there, that sort of thing. But they're almost corrupted immediately. Now, to me, the reality of the situation is you've just found a dead body in the woods. It's obviously been murdered. And then immediately after you find all this money in your tent, and it's a lot of money. I can't remember, was it about $1 million, something like that? And there's probably a connection with that dead body. And some of them do make that connection, but they still decide, no, we're going to keep it. And as soon as they've made that decision, actually, guys, we're going to keep this money, and they're all come to an agreement fairly quickly, they immediately start partying at the campsite. And again, guys, someone's just killed that body in the woods. They're probably looking for that money. keep the noise down. In actual fact, if you're going to keep the money, pack up and bugger off as fast as you can. But what do they decide to do? They decide to turn the music on and have a party to celebrate this money that's been turned up. It's not what you would expect from half-intelligent human beings. Now, bearing in mind that these are young adults, but they don't come across as stupid or anything. And I think most people would come to that conclusion, you know what I mean? Okay, if we're going to keep the money, let's go. I'm not saying in that situation I wouldn't want to keep the money. I'm sure we all would to some degree. But you'd make smart decisions and put the music on and start having a dance about in a party. Because what happens then? These two criminals in the woods that are the cause of the dead body turn up to the campsite, and that's when it triggers the next stage of the movie. So it wasn't necessarily believable to me. And another problem I had with the film is when it all starts kicking off to a large degree, I didn't necessarily feel like I could root for any of these characters because I didn't really feel connected to them, and I certainly didn't feel like a kinship to them or like them in any ways, really. They all seemed quite selfish. And at one point at the beginning of the film, when they get to this campsite, they pretty much decide to have a mass orgy with each other. And I'm just like, well, that's not relatable to normal people, sort of thing. For the most part, I'm doing normal in that sense. They don't feel like characters you can relate to, so you never really feel like you're rooting for anybody in this film. So while I do think the film has some sound ideas, and I do think it's competently made for the most part, I think the weaknesses that I mentioned do kind of drag down the experience a little bit. And they just didn't come across as like making particularly smart and intelligent decisions for a movie in this kind of scenario that they were in. So I'm going to give this one, I'm probably going to be fairly kind, and I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 10. And the reason why I'm giving it 5 out of 10 is I was certainly engaged throughout the whole film. I enjoyed what I saw, and I do think it was made with some amount of skill to kind of keep you interested as an audience member. But there was a few times in the film where you kind of rolling your eyes and just not getting on board with the decisions that were being made. So let me know in the comments, guys, if you've seen Camping Trip, what your thoughts are. And of course, I will be back with loads more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.